couple of days in Santa Clara, just a mere 20 minutes from my house. I was at training camp this week, guys. I was at training camp on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. And that's why I didn't record the show earlier, is because I hadn't necessarily been to camp yet, and I wanted to get a full vibe as to this topic. So I put a topic up for vote for those of you that saw my Instagram, on both my personal Instagram and my podcast Instagram. Follow it at Essential Question Podcast on Instagram. A lot of fun. But I put it up for what's it called? I put it up for vote. I said, what do you want me to talk about? The poor performance of the U.S. women's national team in soccer, or Trey Lance starting week 1? And overwhelmingly, a lot of people voted for me to talk about my argument as to why Trey Lance should start week 1. And so I figured, to actually come up with the solid argument, I would have needed to see Trey Lance maybe once or twice this week at training camp and get a real feel for what I saw. So I'm gonna report to you guys. I'm gonna do this Grant Cohn style and kind of tell you why I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo should be the starting quarterback of this team next year. And for those of you that don't care about the 49ers or football in general, feel free to skip ahead, because this topic is not going to be conducive to that of a casual sports fan. Yeah. Okay, here's what I saw. So on Tuesday, which was the first day I went to camp, they really did like the one-on-one drills and like the 11-on-11s, which are kind of like the juicy part of training camp. Like, the the full team drills. They did them all on like the far field. So it was like very difficult for me to see. But that day, Jimmy played decent. Okay. He played well. But what I've noticed with the 49er fans is that they cheer for every Jimmy Garoppolo like completion. It can be like a complete pathetic, like 1-yard dump to the flat, or like a 5-yard out to Kittle. Like, they'll be like, oh my God, it's the second coming of Montana. Literally, on Wednesday, I'll tell you about, okay, let me tell you. On Wednesday, I was sitting next to a bunch of Garoppolo fans, like everywhere. There was all Jimmy fans, all Jimmy jerseys, everything. They were like literally just like fucking creaming over every single throw that this guy made. And they weren't even good throws. Jimmy had 2 picks that day. He played awful. I didn't want to say anything in front of everybody. I was there with another friend of mine, and we were just sitting there in just complete shock of how bad Jimmy Garoppolo had played that day. He did not look like the starting quarterback of the 49ers. Let me tell you that much. He was like, fans were going crazy over him hitting like 1-yard checkdowns and 1-yard outs to Kittle, right? Like, I'm like, wow, nice. You're hitting short. He's hitting 5-yard passes. He's hitting 10-yard passes. And here's an exemplification of why I think Trey Lance should start week 1. So there was one drill on Wednesday where they were like hitting receivers and one-on-ones, right? So it was Jimmy and Lance were kind of rotating, and then Rosen and Sudfeld as well, who are the third string quarterbacks. And so Jimmy went on the first try, and he tried to hit Deebo Samuel he tried to hit Deebo Samuel. I think this was in the one-on-ones. He tried to hit Deebo Samuel like up the seam, and he basically like hit a deep ball. And of course, in classic Jimmy Garoppolo fashion, the ball was overthrown. And so I was like, okay, like, let's see what Trey can do, right? Because that's something you want to see. And so Trey Lance goes up there, and he's the second thrower to throw the ball, and he hits Deebo Samuel on the same exact route with the same exact throw that Jimmy Garoppolo threw, with an absolute dime. It was a 40-yard beauty. On top of that, Trey Lance also had another beautiful pass to Brandon Ayuk in the corner that day, amongst other really nice passes. Jimmy Garoppolo had 2 interceptions, one of which he stared down Jason Verrett, who was covering, I believe, was Brandon Ayuk, and just literally stared him right in the eyes. And Verrett read the play, boom, stuck his hands out, intercepted. There was another interception. I can't necessarily remember what exactly happened, but I'm sure it was another similar mistake. And guys, here's why. I'm going to give you 3 quick reasons as to why Jimmy Garoppolo should not start week 1. Number 1, Trey Lance, seemingly from the 2 days I was at practice, which is a limited sample size given, is doing everything that Jimmy Garoppolo can do, plus more. The second day I was at practice, Trey Lance ran a lot of zone reads, and he ran a lot of different run plays, which that's just an element of the offense that Jimmy Garoppolo can't execute. I mean, he's a pocket quarterback, which is fine, but Trey Lance gives you another added element of the offense, which you want. You want to gain an advantage over your opponents. Why the fuck would you start a quarterback that is limited physically when Trey Lance can give you all of that upside? Okay, that's number one. Number two, Trey Lance is hitting like Trey Lance has checked off all the boxes since he's got to Santa Clara. People were like, let's see what he does in training camp. He's killed it in training camp. Given, I'm going to say this, given, he's played with the backups most of the time. That's fair. Okay. Trey Lance has played with the backups, and that is a point that we should definitely consider. It's not necessarily, playing with the starting quarterback or playing with the starting offensive line or the starting defense. He's been tearing up the second team defense, which is why a lot of the Niners beat reporters have been pounding the table for Trey Lance to get reps with the starters, reps with the starting O-line, reps with the starting defense. Because, another takeaway that I got was Trey Lance is running for his life behind the pathetic second team O-line that is the 49ers. And he's having the hardest time, even like he has limited time between throws. So he's forced to make quick decisions. And Jimmy Garoppolo has way more time behind his first team offensive line to make the decision to throw the passes that Trey Lance is throwing that Trey Lance is throwing as well. I think Trey Lance deserves first team reps. And I think that is going to be the next step in his development to see whether he starts week one. I 100% do believe that Trey Lance will start week one. I am a big advocate of this. I think that he hasn't seen live bullets in a year. Go out there, throw him into the fire. I think there's going to be growing pains, right? Like any rookie quarterback, you're going to see growing pains. You're going to see a guy who maybe makes mistakes, who is maybe doesn't catch the read, and this is another thing I saw from Trey Lance my second day at camp in particular, is he throws the ball a little high. He misses high a lot. He throws the ball a little above the receiver, and it makes it difficult for the receiver to grab. These are all the growing pains. Trey Lance has been going through his growing pains. I'm not saying that. And I'm not trying to sit here and completely diss Jimmy Garoppolo either. Jimmy Garoppolo played okay. It's just, in comparison to the two, I believe that Trey Lance just gives the 49ers offense so much more upside that there's absolutely no point in keeping this quarterback who you pay $27 million to and expect him to start, and he gives you limited upside at best. I believe that Kyle Shanahan, and this is my last point that I'm going to make, I believe that Kyle Shanahan can win with either Lance or Garoppolo. You look at last year, Garoppolo was completely physically limited because of the fact that he, had the ankle injury, and he'd come back and played against the Rams in New England, which were two games that basically Kyle Shanahan schemed by himself. There was no, it seemed like Jimmy Garoppolo was just kind of executing the scheme, and he looked great doing it. His stats were great because of Kyle Shanahan was scheming open these Jimmy gimmies, the screen passes, the short passes over the middle, intermediate passes, not a lot of deep shots. And the one deep shot Jimmy took in those two games was that deep shot to Ayuk, and that deep shot didn't even look that great. Brandon Ayuk just was completely open, so he had enough space to maneuver and grab the ball. My point is that if Kyle Shanahan could scheme 2 wins against really pretty solid teams. The Rams went to the playoffs and went to the divisional round, and the Patriots were a solid team that barely missed the playoffs in the AFC. Kyle Shanahan could scheme Trey Lance to do the same stuff that Jimmy Garoppolo was doing last year, and you can win games if you have all your skill players healthy, like Debo, like Ayuk, like Kittle. This team is fucking stacked. The only question that we have is the quarterback position, and I believe that Trey Lance gives you more of an opportunity to do so, to expand the offense, expand the limit of the offense, and Jimmy Garoppolo just doesn't do that. And as much as I love Jimmy Garoppolo, this doesn't make sense to me. So that's what I'll say about that. Jimmy Garoppolo is the depreciating asset, and I have a Jimmy Garoppolo jersey, and I wore it to the first day of camp, and he played all right. But the second day he did not play well. And Trey Lance consistently, I'd say in the 2 days I was there, looked like the better quarterback. And I would like to see him get more reps with the first team. We'll see what happens in preseason. This could age horribly, but obviously there's a lot of randoms. But from what I saw, I thought that Trey Lance looked like a really electric quarterback, and I'm really excited to see what else is there to come with Lance and Garoppolo.